Let's talk about what eating pattern is more adequate for type A. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail of specific foods. I just want to give you the general idea because the details, like little handouts, you can find on the internet. So let's think about the origin of type A. So they are the second types of people that were inhabiting this earth, and they started cultivating the land. So they were people that planted, and they also raised animals. And they would also fish as well, but they did not hunt as much. They did not walk as much, as I said on the first video. So if you think about this in terms of an eating pattern that is adequate, if we have a very sensitive digestive systems with low stomach acid, we do not digest proteins very well. We also do not produce enough of the enzyme alkaline phosphatase, which is also something that would digest protein. So this means our eating pattern should be a little bit more vegetarian. It doesn't mean that you have to be a vegan or vegetarian if you're type A, but just using meat as a condiment, so in very small quantities, would be more adequate. And if you do like red meat and you want to eat red meat, being type A, you maybe want to eat less quantities, chew better to help with digestion, and also have like pineapple with it that has enzymes that it has bromelain, an enzyme that helps break down the protein. Or you can have a little bit of apple cider vinegar or some lime or lemon juice just to increase that acid in your stomach before you eat a big heavy meal containing meats. So it's really not very appropriate to eat very high fat meats if you're an A, just because your digestive system is not prepared for that. But if you do, you can use these maybe digestive enzymes or some kind of acid coming from apple cider vinegar or from lemon, or even tablets, HCl tablets before you eat. So being careful with smoked and cured meats that are preserved with nitrates and nitrites. These are substances that are very irritant to the gastrointestinal tract of these people. So these people also have a higher propensity to developing stomach cancer because we have fragile GI tract. So salami, bologna, deli meats in general, just staying away from that. If you're going to eat them very sporadically, and try to buy the non-cured, non-smoked kinds for your type. Regarding seafood, not all seafood is appropriate. Some seafood would be okay. I can list some of this at the end of the video, but also fish, most of the fish are very okay for type A as well. Milk, they can do well with fermented milk, so yogurt, kefir, and some kinds of cheeses would be okay for type A. Eggs, not so much, so eating eggs more sparingly than a type O. I guess a type O and a type B would eat more eggs. So what else? So the type A needs very little fat to work, to function well. So we do need fats. So olive oil and flaxseed oil would be the most adequate for our type. But not a lot of saturated fats, because this would come from fatty meats and butter and lard and all, and bacon and stuff like that, which is already something we don't digest well anyway. Because remember I told you that the type A has a little bit more tendency of having cardiovascular disease, having hypertension. So really the saturated fat would be not as adequate. Sorry about that. Not as adequate for type A. So trying to use more the vegetable fats, the good quality vegetable fats from the nuts, from the seeds. So we do very well with the grains. And then this again, really listen to your body, because sometimes certain grains are not going to jive well with you, and you'll know if you get heartburn, and if you get bloating, if you get gassy, if you get diarrhea, if you get constipation. Usually corn doesn't jive well with anybody, but all the other grains like rice, quinoa, amaranth, buckwheat, even wheat for for the type A's would be okay. The thing is nowadays, I've talked about this before, the wheat is heavily, heavily sprayed. It's been bred so much to contain such high quantities of gluten, and gluten specifically is highly inflammatory for everybody. So I would never recommend, just having gluten as much as you want. But you can tolerate small quantities, and most grains would be okay for type A. So they have a lot of grains and starches that would be good for them. All of the greens and all of the beautiful colored vegetables would be okay for the most part, except white potatoes. Apparently white potatoes have a certain kind of lectin that doesn't jive well with type A blood. So even sweet potatoes, they say here. I'm an A, and I do very well with sweet potatoes. So it's kind of like listening to your body. I am not a true A though. I am an AO. My mom is O and my dad is A. So I inherited an O from mom and an A from dad, but A is dominant. So I am A blood type. There's that too. Keep that in mind. If you're a pure A, you can be a little bit more sensitive to the things that are bad for A. If you're a mixed A, if you're a heterozygous A, then maybe you can tolerate a little bit more to kind of go back and forth between O and A. So red wine is very good for type A. The spirits are not. So take that as you want. Coffee is good for type A because we do have low stomach acid, and coffee is an acidic beverage and it does not hurt us. Obviously, in moderation, everything. But also green tea would be okay. All the carbonated beverages are not okay, unfortunately. All the spices, but the aromatic spices, so rosemary and oregano and basil, that would be great for type A. Not so much the peppers, the spicy stuff, because of them having a very sensitive GI that can be irritated by that. We do really well with legumes and beans, as it's contrary to what happens with type O. So we can do pretty much all beans and peas and lentils. So I am a person that does not jive well with lentils. And you just, again, listen to your body. And just because your blood type that you found on the internet says that you can eat lentils, and you eat lentils and you feel like a balloon and you're farting like crazy, it's probably not for you. So most of all the fruits would be okay for type A, but they say here that it's fine that starting the day, the person that is type A, starting the day with a little bit of warm water and lemon or lime, which is also something that Ayurveda says about the Vata people, which have this little bit more profile of being anxious and nervous and having low stomach acid. So starting your day with a little shot maybe is a good idea. And you can do that. So I'm going to list the foods that are very, very good. Some just random foods that are very, very good for type A. Pineapple, pumpkins, having water with lemon. All the lettuces are good. All the plums are okay. So here it says that peanuts would be okay for type A. Peanuts is a legume, and we do good with legumes. My little caveat on peanuts, it has a lot of mold, and mold is not good for any blood type, for anybody, for any human. So I would not eat peanuts, but you can have it sporadically, I guess, if you would like. Blackberries are fine. Olive oil, codfish, beets, all the rices, coffee, grapes, but carrots. This is hard. I'm reading in Portuguese and translating in my head. Chamomile tea, all the teas really, chamomile tea, ginger tea, the ones that help with digestion, like ginger tea, would be really, really good for type A's because of this poor digestion that we have, unfortunately. Kale, curcumin, all the beans, figs. Some ghee butter would be okay because they have ghee butter is clarified butter, so it doesn't have so much of the protein from the milk. And so that would be fine too. Walnuts, Like I said, the flax seeds and the seed oil. Soy is extremely good for A people. Tofu, miso, all that is very good, excuse me. All that is very good for the A types. But the caveat on soy is always, always, always eat fermented soy products. So miso, natto, tempeh, tofu, and always organic soy, because soy is a heavily, heavily sprayed crop, and it's also a lot genetically modified. So if you buy organic, you avoid both the pesticides and the GMOs. Okra, salmon, sardines, pumpkin seeds, all things soy, like I said. Trout would be fine, red wine, and grapes. These are the very, very good foods, but you can find very extensive lists on the internet for them. So for the people that are A, that want to lose weight, you really want to go very vegetarian pattern. Not meaning that you have to take all animal protein out. I actually recommend that you don't, but you eat more plants than you do meats, as opposed to the O blood. And then again, I say that if you want to lose weight, the exercising with weights would be okay, but not a lot of aerobic, a lot of strenuous exercise for type A's. A little bit more body weight, some lifting with like medium, moderate weights, yoga and tai chi, like all the things that we already talked about, okay? So that was type A for you, kind of like a general eating pattern, just so you have an idea, but there's certainly way more detailed information on the internet.